part of this year's Youth Expressions Festival at the South African State Theatre. A new production is taking centre stage. It's called Kanya and Her Golden Dream, directed by Spahle Mabaso and starring rising talent Nancy Nkantjela. The play tells the story of a young girl named Kanya who moves with her family to Joburg, the so-called city of gold, in search of a better life. We're going to be in conversation with them in just a moment, perhaps to just unpack that story and really what we can expect through the creative process at large. But as we continue now with more action, we're staying with our art coverage. The Good White, as we know, premieres at the Suidoosterfees in Cape Town before moving to Johannesburg's iconic Market Theatre. It's set against the backdrop of the #FeesMustFall protests, where this new play confronts the myth of non-racial societies and asks hard questions about privilege, activism, and generational reckonings. Playwrights Mike van Graan and Russell Savadier now join us to discuss a little bit further. Mike and Russell, good morning, and thank you for making time to be part of this pertinent chat here on the SABC at this hour.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
Mike, let me start with you. Your new play, The Good White, it really tackles the idea of non-racialism in a post-apartheid South Africa. Why did you feel now was the right time to write this story, to put pen to paper?
Well, I suppose it's because last year we celebrated 30 years of democracy, had our, 6th or 7th election. And I think that with the voters basically saying to the politicians, we want a government of national unity, because after 30 years of ANC rule, we don't think that it's worked out very well for us. I thought it was a good time for us to maybe talk about the non-racial project This was very much part of the slogans, that we adopted prior to 1994. We are moving forward to a non-racial, non-sexist democracy. So I suppose it was a question of just where are we with regard to the non-racial project, because although we are 30 years into this new South Africa, there still seem to be many kind of racial tensions within the country. And so that's what the play seeks to address.
Yeah, well, 30 years into our democracy, the issues are nuanced and the strides that have been taken. We also give credit to that. And so, Russ, I want to bring you into the conversation because the play is ultimately also set during the #FeesMustFall protests. How do you think this moment in history shaping South Africa's national identity? What's coming to the fore?
Well, I think the character I play is a Professor Whitehead, who is the good white in the title. And he firmly believes in the future of South Africa. He's desperate to create a non-racial, just, democratic South Africa, but he's confronting all these problems. He's being stymied at every turn. He's at a crossroads. He's desperate to make this contribution. It's a struggle for him. He believes so fervently in creating this future. And we find him at this moment during the FeesMustFall. So this is sort of 10 years previously. We now kind of have a knowledge of what's happened over the last 10 years. And there's a belief that we have to continue fighting for this future that we all believe in.
Let me expand a little bit on that, because in what ways does the good white then challenge the myth of the good ally and also complicate ideas of moral superiority in social justice spaces? We're looking at what we're keeping in, what we're keeping or letting out, what becomes the benchmark given the social political constructs. How would you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think that there are so many challenges that we have to overcome. In this play, my character is accused of being a white messiah. He has this white professor who believes he can contribute and he can tell people what's best for them. So the character that Shoni Masuta plays, the leader of the FeesMustFall movement, challenges him at every turn, and he has all his beliefs challenged, and he needs to overcome this, and he needs to keep dreaming, believing.
Well, it's certainly a conversation start. And Mike, let me bring you back into the conversation, because we're ultimately looking what you want audiences to walk away with after seeing the play, especially white South Africans who may see parts of themselves in Professor Whitehead, perhaps some of the, microaggressions, the silences, given the status quo. Tell us a little bit more about those conversations that you want to be had.
Yeah, so the four characters in the play are Professor Simon Whitehead, who's the white academic. He has a coloured lover who's about 11 or 12 years younger than him, and she's very ambitious, within the university context. Their very good friend is one of the few black professors, and Emmanuel Kobwato. He hails from Zimbabwe. And then there's the young student leader who happens to be the daughter of Professor Whitehead's former domestic worker, and someone whom he has facilitated to be at university by virtue of, covering her school fees and then facilitating her entry into university and the like. And now she's part of the student leadership. So in a way, these four characters explore all of the various tensions that these individuals experience within the context of South Africa right now. It's a generational thing, as well as, the whole Afrophobia thing. How does Professor Kobwato feel within the context of, South Africa right now? And then there's also the person representing the so-called coloured community who feels that, she's really struggling to find her position within society as well, given that before, that whole trope about not being white enough for the past and not black enough for the current future or whatever. So those are some of the kind of themes that are explored within this particular piece. So it's not only about whiteness, as it were, but it's about all of the different kind of racial tensions that might be experienced within the context of our society right now.
Yeah, and perhaps also the rules of engagement as well. And I know that you've spoken about the challenges of producing multi-character plays as an independent theatre maker, even post-COVID. What did it take to bring The Good White to stage? Tell us what went into that, funding issues, putting it all together.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. I tell you, to try to make a living as an independent playwright in this country is a real challenge. So, first of all, I could never do this piece as an independent theatre maker. I was given a residency at the University of Free State last year to write this piece. It was supposed to have been done by another festival, but they simply did not have the resources to put it on. So I pitched it to the Market Theatre and the Suidoosterfees in Cape Town, and it's only because of their collaboration that this play could happen. It's something that would cost, quite a few $100,000s of rand to bring this piece to the stage. And so it's been, for me, a real honor, actually, to have this piece brought to the stage. It's about 7 years since I was last at the Market Theatre with a multi-character piece, because as I say, post-COVID, a lot of the theatre that I've done happens to be one-person shows because of economies of scale, because of portability, because someone doesn't have the resources to put on a one-person play, which in itself costs between 80 and 120,000 rand just to bring to the stage. Sure. So a four-person piece on a major platform like the Market Theatre is just so much more expensive and requires the support of a major theatre, a major festival to bring it to an audience. So the challenges are real. It's not as if we as a country do not have funding for the arts. It's just that how the funding is allocated, unfortunately, doesn't really allow independent theatre making to happen at the scale that it should.
Well, absolutely. The challenges are mammoth, but we obviously, it's big, but we obviously know that theatre is important. It plays a big role in truth-telling. And I wonder if you could explore, Russell, from your vantage point, the role of theatre in transformation, and transforming our society at large. Tell us how it becomes more important now, so more than ever, given this evolving landscape, these questions that remain unanswered.
Yeah, I think theatre is one of the most important tools to confront what's happened in the past, to where we're going. I also just want to make the point that although we're dealing with a very serious subject and where we are now in our society, but I wanted to say as well that it's a very entertaining play. Okay. It's a very emotional play. The wonderful thing about the Suidooster Festival is that people responded on a very emotional level. It's sometimes credit to Mike's writing, plays out like a thriller, and there's humor in it as well. So I think all those things connect with an audience as well. So they get the message, they get challenged. Where are we going? What have we achieved? What do we still have to achieve? But I think the important thing for theatre is that it continues to entertain, to challenge, to have an emotional connection. And I think this play really does do that.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for that, Russell. Mike, just as we wrap up, the 10th anniversary of the hashtag Fees Must Fall is obviously being commemorated. It's the 50th of the Market Theatre as well. What do you see as the next chapter in South Africa's protest theatre at large?
The next chapter. What I would like to see is, well, you know, a few years ago, we drafted a policy, a post-COVID policy, just because that's something that you mentioned earlier. And it's such an important division in where we were prior to COVID and where we are now, because of what theatre makers, just how they were impacted upon by COVID, how few people could make a living during that particular time. So we've come up with a new policy document that we made available to governments around breathing new life into theatre and dance. And it's got a brilliant vision that we presented to the politicians and the bureaucrats. In fact, they commissioned it, but it's just not been implemented. And it would be great if the fantastic vision that's articulated in that policy document actually comes to be implemented, because it would then support independent theatre making, it would support companies, it would support taking theatre to where people are, as opposed to expecting people to come to theatre spaces which still happen to inhabit urban spaces particularly. Okay, well, Mike and Russell, the conversation continues, but for now, thank you for joining us at this hour. Mike van Graan and Russell Savadier chatting to us this morning. The Good White running from the 8th of May until the 1st of June at the Market Theatre in Johannesburg. You do not want to miss that action.